This is the plaintiff, Lawrence Jones Jr. He says he was hired for some handyman work at the defendant's residence, and they're stiffing him and not paying him for his work. Both the defendants drive Mercedes. They owe him $200, and he's suing them for just that here today. These are the defendants, Andre and Ellen. Andre says he never hired the plaintiff to do any work at their house and isn't paying for something they didn't want. That's right. They have no idea why this guy pressure washed the driveway because he was never contracted to do it. So they owe nothing. They're accused of not paying up.
All parties, please raise your right hands. People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Leon is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Jones, what happened here?
I was contacted by Andre. He seen my trailer riding on the road. He stopped me and asked me about coming by to look at his yard and then looking at his house, pressure wash his house and his driveway. So a month or so went by because it was wet. He finally called me one evening and asked me about just pressure washing the driveway. I mean, how much would I charge him? I told him $200. He said that'd be fine for the driveway and the patio. I suppose it came by on the 15th. That was a Thursday. I had to take my grandkids back to Live Oak, and I came that Friday instead of that Thursday. I came back. And I got there at about 4 o'clock. I called Mr. Andre because there was a blue Mercedes in the yard.
Did you let anybody know that you weren't coming on Thursday?
I did not.
Okay, so you come on Friday, and you said you called Andre to say what?
There was a blue Mercedes in the yard. I asked him about, it was two cars, a blue Mercedes and a Pontiac. I asked him about moving the Mercedes. He said it's his mom's car. He said I would call her, and she would move it. So she came out, and she moved the Mercedes. I was sitting up. And I pressure washed the driveway, and I was at the back patio. Andre came and helped me move the patio furniture off. And he told me, then I called him, and I knocked on the door when I was done. I was on the door, and his mom told me Andre has the money. Andre will pay me. I called Andre, he didn't answer his phone. I texted Mr. Andre. I told him, hey, don't answer this. If you don't call me back, I will be to his house tomorrow morning. That morning I went to Andre's house, knocked on Andre's door. He came out through the garage door. He felt like I was sending him a threatening message.
So what happened? What did he say to you when he came out?
That I wasn't authorized to pressure wash his house and his driveway. I was supposed to came on Thursday. So I wasn't authorized to do it.
Okay, talk to me, Mr. Andre. What was your agreement with him?
Okay, Judge, I seen the truck at the red light, and it said lawn service. So I took a picture with my phone, and I called and questioned him about doing the lawn service. So I say, if I decide to let you do the yard, I will contact you and let you know. So the rain kept presiding every week. So he would call me and ask me about doing the lawn. And I say, no, don't worry about it because the grass is really, really wet. There's no need that I'm going to contact you if the yard is wet to get it done. I could do it myself. Don't worry about that. So as the rain kind of subsided a little bit, I contacted Mr. Lawrence. And I said, Mr. Lawrence, I see that you do pressure washing. How much will it cost me if you was to do my mother's house and her driveway? He said, oh, I don't do pressure washing on the homes, but I could do the driveway and the patio in the walk area for $200. And I'm like, $200? I say, well, $200 is a little too expensive. But if I decide to do it, I will let you know. So one day I came in from the gym. It was about 5:30 in the evening. And as I was coming up the road, I noticed Mr. Lawrence's truck outside my mom's property. So when I drove up, of course, the driveway and the walkway to the front door was already pressure washed. So I turned around in the neighbor yard and parked side the road because he had his trailer a little bit blocking the driveway. So I walked and proceeded to go around the back. He was doing the patio, and it kind of started me because I'm like, I did not contact him to let him know I wanted the pressure wash done. So when he said, oh, I got this done, so I went to move one of the patio chairs out of the way. And he said, no, don't worry about it. I could do that. So with that said, I proceeded to walk back and went back to the front of the house and got in my car. And
Why were you moving the patio furniture out of the way?
Well, where he was at, it was so loud. So when I went to move the patio chair, he said, "Oh, don't do that."
No, why were you going to move the patio furniture?
Where he was standing at, I was trying to move the chair out the way because I was going to comment to him and ask him, I didn't ask you to come and do this type of work. He was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. I got this done."
Why are you trying to move the patio furniture? You don't need to move patio furniture to ask him, what the heck are you doing on my property? You move patio furniture to make sure he's able to get under it to pressure clean. And Ms. Helen, can you tell me why you moved your car?
I was called by Andre to move my car, so I just moved it.
Did he tell you why? Because if someone calls me and says, move your car, I ask them why. Why were you moving your car?
He just told me the guy was out there doing the patio, the bike part back there.
Okay, and was your response, I don't know what you're talking about, we never authorized this?
I just moved my car because, like I said, I hadn't called nobody to do no work for me.
And Mr. Andre, can you explain to me why you would call your mother and tell her, move your car so he can pressure wash, if you never authorized him to pressure wash? Is your mother a liar? Or is your mother telling the truth that you, of course not. So you called her and told her, move the car, the guy's there to pressure wash. So how can you then not pay him for doing the job that you clearly asked him to do, because you're moving furniture to enable him to do it, and you're calling your mother and asking your mother to move her car to enable him to do it? So how is it now that you're looking me in the eye and telling me you did not authorize this work? How is it that in your answer to the complaint, your mom says, who goes to people's houses and does work when they're not authorized? Indeed, who does? No one does. People expect to get paid. So answer my question why you're moving furniture and moving cars if he wasn't supposed to be there doing exactly what he was doing.
Well, Judge, as I proceeded to come around the back of the house where Mr. Lawrence was out on the patio, pressure washing, patio furniture was already in the grass. When I walked around to the patio furniture, and one of the patio, the area rug was on the ground, I picked that up to proceed to put it on
Mr. Andre, why would you call your mother and tell her to move the car unless it's Judge, to let this man do his job?
The job of the driveway was already completed when I arrived at the residence.
Why did you? Do you think I'm stupid? Listen to my question and answer what I'm asking you. Why'd you call your mother and tell her, move the car, the guy's there to clean? Why'd you do that?
I'm getting to that. I left the residence.
Yeah, get there now.
I asked my mom after I left the residence to move your car after I had left, after the driveway was complete.
In order to enable the guy to do the work you didn't authorize. Why are you not showing up and saying, what the heck are you doing on my property? What are you doing here? What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. Why isn't that what happens? Instead of you moving furniture and then later telling her, what does that have to do with anything? If you didn't authorize the work, why are you telling your mother to move the car? What is the real problem? Why won't you guys pay for work that the man did?
I did not authorize Mr. Lawrence to do no work at the property.
Please. Mr. Jones, let me ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to embarrass you, but I want to bring this out because I think it's important. You spent time in prison, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I think it's important because it's how your complaint starts out, and I think it's important because I think you are inspirational to others. So I want you to explain. In 2010, you got out of prison, and what did you do?
May 11, 2010, I got my sister had a lawnmower, some weed eaters. I took them to the shop. I fixed them. I ain't have a truck or nothing. My pastor that I have deceased, Pastor Willie Warren, I've used his truck to start out. I said, I'm not going to go back to prison, so I just started mowing lawns and things. And my business have grown over the years. in the last over 10 years. I've been on from prison 10 years and 7 months. I have not been back to the Department of Correction. And when Mr. Andre was there, being hostile with me, I said, well, this is not worth me doing anything to this man about no money. I may as well go to the courts about this here, and instead of me trying to go back to prison for $200.
Now, Mr. Andre and Ms. Helen, it is very obvious from your actions that what you want is just free pressure cleaning. Because if a guy's on your property who's not authorized to be there, your behavior would have been different. It would have been, get off my property, sir, we didn't hire you, please leave. It wouldn't have been, oh, let me get this furniture and move it for you. It wouldn't have been, oh, let me call my mother, I'll tell her to move the car. Mom, move the car because the guy is there. You just don't want to pay for the services you got. That's
My
all
mother
it is.
was not presently.
So stop talking. Stop talking. So I am ordering you to pay the $200 to Mr. Jones and his court costs, plus prejudgment statutory interest since you've owed it to him. That is my verdict.
Well, the judge finds for the plaintiff no uncertain terms. He says the defendants owe him. Let's find out what they have to say about it. Mr. Andre, Ms. Helen, what do you think about the judge's verdict?
Disrespectful because she didn't give me a chance to explain my thought. And my mother was presently not at home when Mr. Lawrence had pressure washed the driveway. My mother came after I had left and noticed Mr. Lawrence was at the home. So prior to giving my explanation, she didn't give me an explanation. She basically resided with Mr. Lawrence on the case. So I feel that it was unfair.
Well, he did your driveway, and the judge says you got to pay him for it. Okay?
Well, I will
that?
appeal it. I'm going to appeal it because I didn't get a fair explanation to the case. So I feel unjustified.
Unjustified. Well, I'm sorry, but you got a judgment against you, and that's the way it's going to be. Mr. Jones, let me ask you,
Yes, sir.
Are you glad you filed this lawsuit? How you
Yes, I
feeling
am,
right
sir.
now?
Thank you. I'm feeling relieved.
Well, you're going to get paid. Victory for you, okay?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Sometimes, as a judge, when you're analyzing the evidence, what somebody fails to say or fails to do in a situation where someone would normally speak out and object just really seals the case. And I think that had a little bit to do with...
Oh, you think?
Well, I mean, his conduct...
Yeah, he's not supposed to be there. Here, let me move this for you.
Right. They moved
Hey,
the
Mom,
furniture,
move the
moved
car for him.
And it's just so
Liars.
inconsistent with the idea of, hey, this trespasser came along and was in my yard.
And he's not authorized.
And he did some unauthorized work. It never made any sense at all. And
No.
Again, no one has ever pressure cleaned anything at my house.
Yeah, sitting around doing, that's hard work.
Unauthorized. It's grimy,
ridiculous.
it's tough work, and people don't go around doing it for
Ridiculous.
nothing.
It's completely ridiculous. Do him like
He had to
that.
file a lawsuit just to get his $200.
So Sammy wants to know this. Hey, Harvey, can my landlord throw me out and evict me with just 3 days' notice, even though I just gave birth? Well, typically, the 3 days is not that you can get evicted in 3 days. They have to give you 3 days to become current in rent, and then they can file an eviction action, which takes a period of time. So the answer generally is absolutely not. They cannot throw you out after 3 days.